Hello and welcome to JAX 2016. We are here with one of the speakers. Thank you, Mr. Barnes, for being here and for the lovely keynote.
My pleasure.
My first question would be, what do you think the future looks like in terms of technological innovations?
It's a really good time for technological innovations, and the really cool part is the developers that we have today, they can do it. In fact, we need them to do it because there are not magical developers that are going to come along and do this stuff for us. Internet of Things, there's no question about it. Everything will be automated. Automobiles, street lights, everything. For developers, that's a new data source. They can already deal with that. They got to change a little bit. Cloud computing, however you define cloud computing, it's going to happen, but that doesn't mean the old stuff will go away. We still need that. But cloud brings new opportunities for developers, both infrastructure developers and traditional application developers. Let's see what else. Oh, DevOps. By far, DevOps is one of the most exciting things. And what it can do is it can help us decrease costs while still maintaining great jobs. Infrastructure people have to learn new skills. Application developers have to learn new skills, but new skills are fun. If you do the same thing all the time, it gets pretty boring. And then I think analytics is the other one. All of the data we collect from that, what do we do with it? And so existing applications using analytics. And so I think that's important. Those are the big ones for me.
And IoT not?
Oh, for the Internet of Things? Oh, absolutely. There is nothing in this room that won't be connected to the Internet of Things. We'll track all of this equipment with the Internet of Things. Healthcare devices, if you see all the things Apple announces, it's about healthcare because we can decrease healthcare costs, follow my father's insulin, follow my own health and my own sleeping patterns and traffic lights and all of that. That's actually better for society too. So there are a lot of good things about the Internet of Things.
And I was wondering, what's your take on disruptive technologies? So-called.
Yeah, so-called disruptive. I'll say that again, disruptive technologies. These are disrupting everything, but at the same time, we need some things that are really new. Mobile has changed everything. It is a disruptor. Robots and sensors. Those are going to be the big thing. And robots take sensors and they're going to not take jobs. I always say that if you're not busy making the machine, you'll be replaced by the machine. They can do a lot of great things for us. Those are the big changes that we don't have today, but guess what? They're all driven by software. And so although they're disruptive, there still has to be an infrastructure behind them to run them. There still needs to be applications to make that all work. But phones, we've got them. Tablets, we've got them. The new generation may get smaller. It may get a little more pocketable. It may bend. But that's not really a big disruption. I think robotics and analytics. Analytics to do things we've never heard of before. We're not there yet. All of the big players, Google, Microsoft, IBM, we're all working on it. But what are we going to do with all of this data if we can't analyze it? That's going to be really cool.
And during your keynote, you spoke about DevOps and about how developers can juggle with their operations tasks while still doing their jobs, which is to create applications, wonderful applications. So how can they juggle?
The cool part is it's sort of scary at first. Oh, I'm not an operations person. I can't do operations. But in fact, our job and the infrastructure job is to make it easy so that application developers can do that. By the way, there are people that have jobs to make it easy for the application developer to do that. The key to all of this is getting tools in the hands of the line of business user. Business moves fast, really fast. And if we can't create the applications for them, our competition will pass us by. How do we do that? Well, we can't call operations and wait 2 weeks and no. We have to be able to do it more quickly. Operations is still back there giving us the tools to do that, but But we, IBM and all the others, we're trying to make it as easy as possible so developers can click a button, click another button, use things the way they're used to, but it's just deployed automatically. They don't have to call operations. They just get it out there. Right now, it could take me 2 weeks to even contact the person to help me deploy my application. Now, I can do it at home on the weekend and show the boss a demo on Monday. That is cool. So DevOps doesn't take away developer jobs. They have to learn some new things, but every software developer must learn new things or they're going to be tossed by the wayside. They'll get passed by others. But it's really cool. I don't want to do the same thing all the time. It gets boring. So DevOps really, it's not going to replace my job. It's actually going to make it more fun. When I see the results of what I do immediately, that's exciting. And so I think DevOps is going to be welcomed by people once the mystery goes away.
But do you think developers are open to the idea of learning new skills and just diving into DevOps?
Yeah, first, I think there are a lot of people that define DevOps in different ways. That's what can be scary. Some will tell them DevOps is this, and some will say DevOps is that. And so until they learn what it really means, not the hype that some marketing people told them, once they learn what it really means and they do it the first couple times, they'll go, wow, this is really cool. Companies like us and all our competitors, we have free trials. There never was a thing called try IBM software for free, so they can try it themselves and suddenly see their application deployed and they go, okay, now I get it. And so it's taking the mystery out of DevOps and what marketing and all the hype tells us. Once you get by that, it's not scary anymore. And you don't have a choice. If you're a software developer and you do not embrace this new approach, somebody else will. You have to embrace it as a developer, because if you don't, the industry will pass you by and you won't have the skills that the company's looking for. So it's not a choice, but once you do it a couple times, you're like, wow, I like this.
Speaking of this, you said during your keynote that developers and executives speak different languages. Well, that often leads to discussions, let's say. So how can they solve that problem and maybe speak the same language?
Yeah, and I remember what I said is that developers like to build things and fix things. Executives like to increase revenue or decrease costs, and those are the only things they think about, unless they're government agencies trying to improve things for society or charitable companies. That's it. They want to decrease cost or increase revenue. And developers say build or fix. So all the developer needs to do is try to translate, oh, if I fix something, when I tell the boss, I'm telling them, hey, I'm fixing things to decrease costs. Now it sounds important to the executives. Oh, I'm doing something that will help us make more money, bring in more revenue. And now the executives understand that. In the past, they didn't have to do that. Right? They said, oh, I know that this is going to do it, but the executive doesn't know that. They don't know that when you fix this, it's going to help fix problems and decrease costs. So you have to be able to tell them. And so learning just a little bit of that language, you make yourself more important so that they just don't outsource your job to somebody that just writes code. They want you to understand the business value. And when you can do that, understand the business value and tell them the business value, you are more important.
So basically learn to translate corp speak?
That's it. That's it. Learn to translate corp speak. Like I said, executives only care about those couple things. You know, I want to make more money, bring in more money, or save more money. So you figure out what your project does, and then you tell them, hey, I'm going to be able to get the business users so they can get their applications more quickly and beat the competition, and all of a sudden you're important. And so it is not as hard as it seems. It's just determining, what's my thing going to really do? Oh, it's going to let marketing be able to get their material out more quickly. Ah, now that's all I have to do is say it that way. Developers are really smart, but they can't assume other people know what they're talking about, and they always have. Other people do not know. Developers are a mystery to them. So you have to translate it. I won't say make it in simple terms, but you have to make it in. Part of my job is to translate. I translate from what I call geek speak, geeks and geekstresses, so that executives can understand it. Now every developer has to be able to speak that language. You can't say, oh, I have a large corpus of data. You have to say, I have a lot of business data. Suddenly the executive understands it. So that's really important. It's essential for us to all keep our jobs. And now we're important to the business, and I can't just hand it off to some college kid that writes code. They will eventually, but they've got a lot to learn. So that understanding how the business works and the value you are providing to the business, and then telling the boss, telling the executives, that's what's essential. And that's sort of part of the new role of the software developer. And because things are moving quickly, fast, digital time moves faster. And so developers have to be able to adjust to that.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes, for your time and for your keynote.
It's my pleasure. I will tell you that this is my second year here, and I will be here next year because not only has IBM told people here what we do, we've learned more from the people here. These are the smart people. We learn from them, and we find out what they want, and they're great people too, so I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.